Know this about psychologists. I've been a clinical psychologist for 8 years, and this is what I know. Today, I'll try to answer the question, is being a psychologist hard? I'll go about it in first describing what a psychologist does and doesn't do, hereby clearing up some of the most common misunderstandings, and then proceed to telling you if I think it's hard and why. What a psychologist does and doesn't do. Some might think that it's just about lending an ear and a shoulder to cry on. And how hard can that really be? As a psychologist who strives to follow the two most essential principles of my role, which is assessment and therapy, above description is very far from what I do. I speak a bit more about this in the video, What is a Psychologist? You can and should expect that your psychologist is able to deliver answers to your questions and assist you in change where it's needed. The difference between a warm shoulder to cry on and a professional psychologist can in simple terms be put like this. If you're sad and speak to a loved one, they'll listen to you, say comforting things, and probably support you by saying that you did what you could. A psychologist would look into your experience of sadness and study it with you. They'll ask, how often does this happen? Is it a phenomenon that often shows up, or is it an isolated event? What's causing it? Do you know? Is there a pattern? What might systemically be causing it? How do you normally deal with it? Is that working? What's your contribution to the phenomenon, if any? Are you doing things that's making it worse? Are you doing things that are helpful, and what are those? Are you motivated to do something about it, or do you not consider it a problem? Together with the client, we explore what's normal. We do this by the psychologist sharing facts about how humans normally react, statistics about how others cope, and knowledge about how others would be expected to react in similar situations. We'll then look into if you can cope with the phenomenon by knowing that it's not normal. If acceptance and normality and self-understanding is enough for you to be able to cope and to not suffer. Or if you would like to explore what you can do in order to change the occurrence of the phenomenon. If so, we look into your different options of change and talk about how this could be explored. We might also test it out in session for you to see what one of the new reactions could look like and to get some practice doing it. We'll talk about your motivation of change and your perceived difficulties when having to try and react differently in the future. We might plan concrete homework of you doing or practicing something at home. Or we might agree that your homework consists of thinking more or doing more exploration or data gathering at home. Do you hear the difference between what you do with a friend and what you do with a psychologist? What you pay for or get with a psychologist is to meet a mind scientist, someone who's an expert on studying minds and know what will affect them and what can be done. Through this, you can find out what's wrong and not wrong with you and know what to do when experiencing difficulties. The task is not simple, and lacking the powers held by oracles or magicians, psychologists base their skills on a ton of knowledge about research and statistics and studies. It's like very complex math, where both biology and environment comes into play when assessing a problem and figuring out how to make a difference that's helpful for the client. It's not unlike a doctor practicing medicine as a GP. You enter in all the data you receive from a client into your computer or brain, then you sort the data, ask for more data, and then you analyze the data and provide multiple outcomes depending on future action taken. And then you present the client with this output. The computer, or brain for a psychologist, is filled to the max with their experience and specialist knowledge about psychology. And even if your friend is the smartest on the planet, their program will be impacted by their own agenda and emotions. A professional psychologist program will not. So is it hard to be a psychologist? Knowing other careers and jobs, I would say that most work is hard. I think that what people think about or mean when they ask me if my work is hard is if it's emotionally hard. As their focus is on what I do and that my work surrounds people in crisis, people who suffer, and people who have had really horrible life experiences. They imagine how they would feel if they had to talk to a friend with similar problems, how they would feel their pain and suffering and become sad and emotionally affected as well. If I talk to a loved one who suffers, I'll also get sad and affected. It's normal and probably quite important for our interpersonal relationships in our private lives. But at work, it's different. At work, I'm a skilled professional and I'm also expected to be so. My clients will have no benefit from me suffering along with them. It would also likely cloud my judgment and make me less apt at helping them or being their guide, trainer, and educator. My work is challenging, and my brain gets tired from all the analysis and production of knowledge and guiding the clients. But this brain tiredness is likely just like any other analytical and consulting work, I suppose. When we use our brain for hours and hours, they get tired. Maybe you're thinking, but other than your brain being tired, isn't it emotionally hard? As an answer, I want to say no. It's not emotionally hard because I don't let it be so. As I just spoke about before, it would be quite impractical if I let myself get flooded with emotion to each client. It takes time to get back to yourself after being very emotionally engaged, and because my day consists of multiple appointments, it would be impractical, but also unfair, as it would impact on my needed focus for the next client and their story. With experience and training as a psychologist, you learn to remain professional. As a psychologist, you become an expert on the mind and you come to possess a ton of knowledge on how to regulate emotions and how to control your mind. As a psychologist, you simply learn how to not be affected by the content shared with you in therapy, or how to deal with it efficiently when you do get emotionally stirred up. This is a skill you can learn, or it's many skills, but it's doable, and I think it's super important. When I work as a supervisor for younger psychologists or mental health workers, it's something that I teach about. That being a psychologist doesn't mean that you have to be a friend or feel their emotions, but that you need to be the rock and guide so you can help someone else. I've seen Netflix series where they show professionals who get flooded with emotion over every case they work on, doctors or lawyers, who center their whole life around a case they're working on and let it impact their personal lives. It's good TV, but as we know, real life is not like that. In real life, we learn how to remain professional at work and keep it out of our personal lives. So whatever happens at work, it's a work thing, not a my life thing. Even as a psychologist, my work is a part of my life, but it's not my whole life. I think it's important to remain professional in order to be a good psychologist. Being professional doesn't mean cold or distant. It doesn't mean that I don't care. I care very much about being a good psychologist for my client. A good psychologist is able to be fully present in the sessions with empathy and connection. But when the session is over, it's over. We let it go and move on with our lives or to the next client. Nobody is able to perform their best when being consumed or too emotionally affected. So I use the skills to make it not so. These involve emotion regulation and mind control. I know of research and have seen in my clients how being too over-involved in difficult matters and too emotionally invested can lead you to becoming very cold or indifferent, that your emotions shut down. I need my emotional axis to be intact so I can use it for work and especially in my personal life, so make sure to not allow that to happen to me. So yes, using your brain and dealing with important work, people's lives, and complicated problems or situations is hard. It's hard for the brain. But I suppose all work, especially involving using our brain, is hard. As psychologists are also just human in spite of all their knowledge, they can also be overworked and stressed out by hard work. Therefore, good psychologists, just like how they advise their clients, work smart. If it's hard, then you have to work smart. I do that by not having too many clients in a day. I control my calendar and use my skills. Within calendar control also lies the control of which cases I take. There's some sound research that psychologists who only work with depression treatment can start to feel some effects. With regards to that research, and to not make my work too boring, I make sure to have a variety of different client cases. I've never been in a situation working only with depressed clients, but I keep it in mind just in case. So for me, keeping a large variation of cases is more due to me enjoying my work more that way. I like to be able to work on a lot of different things in order to remain fresh, and I like to be able to make a difference for a lot of people. I think this was all we had time for. What was your takeaway from today's video? As always, feel free to take away the information you can use, if any, and leave the rest. Hopefully you found that today's topic made sense and I didn't waste your time. Please subscribe or like this video so my channel can grow. Take care and see you for the next one.